Blue and red lights don't just flash. They take over your whole world. They fill the mirror. They crawl into your chest, and suddenly you're not just someone driving home anymore. You're a situation, a question mark, a problem somebody else gets to define. That night, the very first thought that crossed my mind wasn't fear. It was exhaustion, the kind that sinks into your bones when you realize you're about to spend the next chunk of your life proving you deserve basic respect. I remember thinking, yeah, that happened, and already knowing this was going to be one of those stories people argue about long after it's over. My name is Maya Bennett, and this is the night a routine traffic stop turned into a lesson nobody planned on learning. It was a Tuesday evening, nothing special, warm but not sticky. Yet the kind of night where the sky feels low and familiar, and I was driving north on Route 14 with some old R&B playing quietly, not loud enough to distract, just enough to keep me company. My blazer was folded on the passenger seat, my hair still pinned from work, and I was headed to my grandfather's birthday dinner, 70 years old, stubborn as ever, still carving the meat himself like it's a point of pride. I'd had a long day at work, the kind where you argue about principles and paperwork and people's lives until your head aches, and I was looking forward to being just a granddaughter for a few hours. You know what I mean? I checked my speed, checked my mirrors, turn signal, on everything clean and boring, the kind of driving that's supposed to get you home without incident. Then I passed the Willow Ridge sign, small town manicured lawns, quiet streets, and I noticed a patrol SUV sitting under a gas station canopy engine running. At first, I didn't think anything of it. Then it pulled out, and it stayed behind me, and then it closed the gap fast like it had somewhere urgent to be. A second later, the lights came on, full strobe, blue and red, bouncing off my mirrors so hard it felt like they were inside the car. I sighed, not dramatically, just tired, because if you've lived long enough in this country, you know that feeling when you're technically doing nothing wrong and still bracing yourself. I pulled over slowly, signal on wheels straight, put the car in park, turned the engine off, rolled the window down, both hands on the wheel where they could be seen. My heart was steady, but my stomach dropped, that small, familiar drop that comes with knowing you're about to be misunderstood on purpose. I watched him approach in the side mirror, tall, broad, close-cropped hair, sunglasses, even though the sun was already sinking, one hand hovering near his holster like it was muscle memory. He didn't come right up to the window. He stopped slightly behind my line of sight, forcing me to turn to see him, a small power move that says more than words ever do. He stood there a beat too long, silent, letting it stretch. Finally, he leaned in and said, "License and registration." No greeting, no explanation, just a command. I kept my voice calm. "Good evening, officer. My wallet's on the passenger seat. I'm going to reach for it." He made this sound halfway between a laugh and a scoff. Just get it. Like I was inconveniencing him by trying to stay alive. I moved slowly, handed him my license and registration, and he snatched them from my fingers, glanced at my name, then at me, then back at the car, and I could see the judgment land before he even spoke. "This your car, Ms. Bennett?" He said my last name like it didn't belong to me. "Yes," I said. "It's registered to me." He looked around the interior, scanning like the car itself offended him. "Where you headed family dinner?" I said. "In Willow Ridge." Then I asked the question that always changes the temperature. "Can you tell me why you pulled me over?" He paused, just a fraction, like he hadn't expected me to ask. "You got a taillight out," he said, "easy practiced." I blinked. My car tells me if a bulb even thinks about failing. My dashboard says all lights are functioning, I said carefully. He leaned in closer. "Your dashboard's wrong." Then he sniffed the air, exaggerated. "And I smell alcohol." I almost laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was so lazy, it hurt. "I haven't been drinking," I said. "And you don't smell alcohol." That's when his posture changed, shoulders, squaring, voice sharpening. "Step out of the vehicle." I could feel the moment tipping. My hands stayed on the wheel. "Officer," I said, calm but firm, "this is a minor equipment issue that I dispute. I don't consent to a search. I'd like to understand why you're escalating." He snapped back. "Are you refusing a lawful order?" "I'm stating my rights," I said. "I'm not resisting." He grabbed the door handle. It was locked. He yanked again, harder. "Open this door or I'll break the window." And right there, I made the choice. A lot of people make not the fair one, the safe one. I unlocked it. He ripped the door open before I could fully unbuckle my seatbelt and grabbed my arm, hauling me out like I weighed nothing. Gravel dug into my heels as I stumbled. He spun me and shoved me against my own car hard enough to knock the air out of my chest. You are making a serious mistake, I said, cheek pressed to cold metal. I am a state. Shut up, he shouted. He kicked my ankles apart and yelled, "Stop resisting," even though I was perfectly still. And that's when I knew exactly what he was doing. He wasn't talking to me. He was talking to the camera, creating a story where there wasn't one. "I'm not resisting," I said through clenched teeth. He wrenched my arms behind my back, pulled them up too high, pain shooting through my shoulders, and snapped the cuffs on tight, biting into my wrists. "Too tight," I said. "You're under arrest," he growled, "for what I asked. You have no probable cause." He rattled off charges like a grocery list: disorderly resisting suspicion of DUI. He patted me down, lingering where he didn't need to, took my phone and tossed it onto the hood like it was trash. "You're violating my rights," I said quietly. He smirked. "You watch too much TV." Then he shoved me into the back of his cruiser plastic seat, no legroom, that stale mix of sweat and disinfectant in the air, and slammed the door. I stared through the partition at the back of his head and told myself one thing: not revenge, not anger. Accountability. Because the most dangerous people in any system are the ones who think they'll never be questioned. He searched my car while I sat there, then got on his phone and laughed loud enough that I could hear bits of it through the glass. "Yeah, caught one of those city types. Fancy car, big attitude, quoting law books. You know that phrase, you know the type." That phrase turns a human being into a category, and categories are easier to hurt. The drive to the station was rough, every bump sending pain through my shoulders because my hands were cuffed behind me. He drove one-handed, chatting like he was on his way to meet friends, not transporting someone he'd just assaulted. I watched familiar streets pass by, streets I grew up near, volunteered on, believed in, and now I was riding through them like a criminal. At the station, he left me in the car, no AC windows up, heat climbing fast. Another tactic: the hot box make you uncomfortable enough to give up. Sweat ran down my back, my wrists burned, and I built my case in my head. Unlawful stop, unlawful search, excessive force, civil rights violation. Finally, he yanked the door open again and dragged me inside. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. A desk sergeant barely looked up. "What do we got?" "Disorderly resisting DUI," the officer said proudly. "Name," the sergeant asked. "Maya Bennett," I said. "I want my phone call." He laughed. "You'll get it later." The officer emptied my pockets for me, lip balm, keys, a folded birthday invitation, then flipped open my wallet, and that's when it happened. A heavy credential fell out and hit the counter with a solid thud. The room went quiet. The sergeant picked it up, turned it over, thumb brushing the seal, and I watched his face change, not to respect, but fear. "Where did you get this?" he asked the officer. "It's fake," the officer snapped too quickly. "She bought it online," I said calmly. "It's not fake. Run my name." The sergeant hesitated, then typed. A red banner popped up on the screen: restricted profile. His color drained. "It's real," he whispered. The officer leaned in, read the screen, and you could see his brain reject it. "That's a glitch," he said. "The system doesn't glitch like that," the sergeant hissed. I spoke evenly. "I'm a state civil integrity attorney, and you've just assaulted a government lawyer." "She didn't identify herself," the officer said. "I tried," I said. "You told me to shut up." The sergeant reached for his cuff key. "Ma'am, I'm so sorry, this is a misunderstanding." "No," I said sharply. He froze. "He put them on," I said, nodding at the officer. "He can take them off. I want my phone call." The sergeant slid the phone toward me, holding it to my ear. I recited a number. It wasn't a lawyer, it was family. "Hello, Uncle Ray," I said. "I'm at Willow Ridge PD. I've been arrested." "Officer Cole Granger, badge 317. Silence. Heavy. "Put him on," my uncle said. I looked at the officer. "My uncle would like to speak with you." He scoffed. Then I added, "He's a federal judge." That wiped the smirk right off his face. He took the phone, and I watched his shoulders stiffen as my uncle spoke low and calm. "Officer Granger, write down the time. Because that's the time your life as a free man ends if my niece has a mark on her." The call ended. The officer stared at the phone. I met his eyes. "You're gonna want a lawyer," I said. Minutes later, the station filled with movement. A captain rushed in, saw me in cuffs, and shouted to get them off. The officer unlocked them, and I rubbed my wrists, deep red grooves circling them. The captain apologized, offered to clear it up quietly, expunged the record. No harm, no foul. I laughed. "No harm," I said, holding up my wrists. Then he leaned in, and said the quiet part out loud. Think about your career. Perception is reality. I looked at him and said, You're right. And that's when the front doors opened. My uncle walked in with the county DA and a federal investigator and, yes, a camera. The mood changed instantly. They asked for the dash cam footage. The captain tried to stall. The investigator shut that down. We watched the video. Every lie, every shove, every stop resisting, and then the body cam audio, him bragging on the phone about teaching me a lesson. The room went dead silent. The DA stood up. We're charging him. The officer tried to argue immunity. The investigator shook his head. That doesn't cover intentional violations. The captain told him to hand over his badge and gun. His hands shook as he did it. 2 officers cuffed him right there. The same click I heard earlier. The fallout didn't stop. The footage went viral. People came forward. Stories stacked up. It wasn't just me. A week later, I got a threat. I reported it. That night, a dark sedan crept past my uncle's house. I watched from inside. As it stopped, a man stepped out with a gas can. I recognized the walk. He poured gasoline, fumbled with a lighter, drunk and desperate. Sirens screamed and helicopters, overhead voices shouting. He dropped the lighter and fell to his knees. I didn't feel triumph. I felt sad, because hate shrinks people until they destroy themselves. The case went to trial. The defense tried to paint me as arrogant, said I baited him by knowing the law. I said what I believe with my whole chest. Asserting rights isn't baiting, it's citizenship. The jury didn't take long. Guilty. On all counts. Cameras everywhere. And here's the part people still argue about. Some folks still defended him. Said I should have just cooperated. Said he was stressed. So I'll ask you the same thing. Where's the line? How much are you supposed to swallow to keep someone else comfortable? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Was pushing this all the way the right call, or should I have taken the quiet apology and moved on? And if you've lived through something like this, tell your story. If you want more real stories where power actually gets challenged, hit like, subscribe, ring the bell, because the next one's even messier, and yeah, it's going to start another argument.